just a girl.
New York City. A single spotlight falls on a piano, its black keys gleaming under the soft haze of stage light. Alicia Keys takes her seat, her fingers hovering over the instrument like a prayer. When the first note rings out, it feels less like a song and more like a confession. In an era obsessed with perfection, filters, and fame, Alicia dared to strip it all away. No makeup, no mask, no facade. She wasn't here to impress. She was here to heal. But the road to authenticity was never easy. Behind that radiant smile was a girl from Hell's Kitchen, raised by a single mother, carrying the weight of expectation and the ache of loneliness. She fought to keep her soul intact while the industry tried to reshape her, over and over again. This is not just the story of a singer. It's the story of a woman who learned that true beauty lies not in how the world sees you, but in how bravely you see yourself. This is the untold journey of Alicia Keys, the voice that healed a generation. Before the world knew her as Alicia Keys, she was simply Alicia Augello Cook, a quiet yet curious child growing up in the chaotic heartbeat of New York City. Born in 1981 in Manhattan's Hell's Kitchen, a neighborhood that knew more about struggle than serenity, her childhood was painted in contrasts. Danger outside, music inside. Her mother, Teresa Augello, an Italian-American actress, raised her alone. She worked multiple jobs, acting gigs, paralegal work, anything, to keep the lights on and her daughter's dreams alive. Her father, Craig Cook, a flight attendant and part-time DJ, drifted in and out of her life, leaving Alicia to find her own rhythm of survival. In their small apartment, the walls were thin, but the sound of an old upright piano filled every corner. At just 7 years old, Alicia began taking classical piano lessons. While other kids played outside, she studied Chopin, Mozart, and Beethoven, her fingers moving with both precision and pain. The piano became her secret language, her refuge from the chaos of the city and the loneliness that came from an absent father. By 12, she was composing her own melodies, raw, soulful, and heartbreakingly honest. Music became not just her passion, but her protection. It was how she spoke when the world didn't listen. Alicia would later say, "The piano saved me. It gave me a place to belong when I didn't fit anywhere else." And so, in the heart of Hell's Kitchen, surrounded by sirens, broken glass, and dreams on fire, a young girl found harmony. Not in perfection, but in perseverance. The foundation of a legend was being built, one note at a time. By her teenage years, Alicia Keys was already living between two worlds, the discipline of classical piano and the pulse of New York's streets. At 16, she graduated early from the prestigious Professional Performing Arts School, a prodigy whose talent was impossible to ignore. She could play Bach in one breath and improvise R&B in the next. That same year, she earned a full scholarship to Columbia University. But the ivy-covered walls couldn't contain her spirit. While other students wrote essays, Alicia wrote songs, pouring her soul into every lyric. Within months, she made the decision that would change her life. She dropped out to chase music full-time. Her first record deal came with Columbia Records, but what should have been her breakthrough became a cage. Executives wanted to mold her into something marketable, smoother, shinier, less herself. She was told to sing different songs, wear more makeup, change her sound. And Alicia, still barely 17, began to realize how easily art could be traded for image. After months of frustration and shelved projects, she fought her way out of the contract, a move that could have ended her career before it began. But fate had other plans. Enter Clive Davis, the legendary music executive who had discovered Whitney Houston. When he heard Alicia's demo of Foolish Heart, he didn't just hear talent, he heard truth. He signed her to his new label, J Records, and gave her the creative freedom she'd been denied. In that small studio, surrounded by worn-out equipment and limitless passion, Alicia wrote and recorded the song that would soon echo across the world. A song that sounded like pain, power, and redemption all at once. Its title was simple, but its message eternal. Fallen. When Fallen was released in 2001, The world stopped to listen. It wasn't just another R&B single. It was a thunderclap of soul, a cry of vulnerability, and a declaration of strength. Alicia Keys' voice, raw, emotional, and unfiltered, cut through the noise of an industry obsessed with perfection. Her debut album, Songs in a Minor, was more than a record. It was a statement. Written and produced mostly by Alicia herself, at just 20 years old, it fused classical piano with hip-hop beats, soul with defiance. Critics hailed her as a once-in-a-generation talent. At the 2002 Grammy Awards, she didn't just win, she dominated, taking home 5 Grammys, including Best New Artist and Song of the Year. Overnight, Alicia Keys became the new face of authentic artistry, a bridge between worlds, the street and the stage, the classical and the contemporary. Her braids, her confidence, her piano, they all became symbols of a new kind of beauty, one rooted in truth. But fame came fast and heavy. Sold-out tours, magazine covers, endless interviews asking her to explain what made her different. And yet amid the whirlwind, Alicia stayed grounded. She wasn't chasing fame, she was chasing meaning. Then came the next wave. If I ain't got you, you don't know my name. And no one. Each song was an anthem of sincerity, proof that vulnerability could still dominate the charts. When she performed If I Ain't Got You live, her voice trembled not from fear, but from feeling, and in 2009, alongside Jay-Z, Alicia's voice echoed across skyscrapers and subways with Empire State of Mind. It wasn't just a song about New York. It was New York. Bold, bruised, beautiful, unbreakable. By the end of the decade, Alicia Keys wasn't just a singer. She was a symbol of talent without compromise, of honesty without apology. A star who had found her voice and taught millions to find theirs. At the height of her fame, Alicia Keys seemed untouchable, a beacon of grace in an industry fueled by gossip and chaos. But even the purest melodies can be drowned out by noise. In 2009, whispers began to spread about her relationship with Swizz Beatz, the producer behind countless hip-hop hits. At the time, he was still legally married, and suddenly Alicia's image as the angel of R&B began to crack under public judgment. Tabloids branded her a homewrecker. Social media turned merciless. For the first time, the same voice that once united millions became the center of division. Alicia said little. She retreated from the spotlight, away from interviews, away from award shows, and into silence. But inside that silence was reflection, pain, growth. Behind closed doors, she wrote, not for charts, not for critics, but for herself. Songs like Try Sleeping with a Broken Heart carried the sound of a woman rebuilding her identity note by note. The world had seen her as flawless, but the truth was, she was finally learning to embrace her flaws. In her journals, she wrote, "You can't control how people see you, but you can control what you believe about yourself." By the early 2010s, Alicia returned, softer, wiser, yet stronger. The glare of fame had once blinded her. Now it illuminated what truly mattered. She began to speak not about perfection, but about peace. Not about image, but intention. The fall had changed her, not into someone else, but into someone real. Because sometimes, losing the world's approval is the first step to finding your own truth. By 2016, Alicia Keys had already achieved everything most artists could only dream of. Grammys, platinum records, respect across every genre. But success had started to feel like a costume she no longer wanted to wear. She realized she had been performing not just music, but identity. The makeup, the lighting, the expectations. All of it began to feel like walls around her spirit. One day, before a photo shoot, she made a decision that would shock the entertainment world. She walked onto set with no makeup at all. No foundation, no mascara, no filter. Just her, raw, radiant, real. That moment wasn't rebellion. It was revelation. Her no-makeup movement ignited a cultural firestorm. Some called it brave, Others called it reckless. But Alicia stood firm. She wasn't telling women to stop wearing makeup. She was asking them to stop hiding. The release of her album Here that same year captured that transformation. A stripped-down, soulful confession of identity, motherhood, and revolution. Songs like Blended Family and Holy War spoke not from a stage, but from the soul. When she appeared at the VMAs, again barefaced, the world watched in silence, not because she looked different, but because she looked free. Alicia had reinvented herself not by becoming someone new, but by returning to who she always was. And as she sang under the lights, her skin glowing in its natural state, her voice carried a new kind of power, the kind that comes only when you have nothing left to prove. Alicia Keys was no longer just a performer. She had become a movement, one built on truth, vulnerability, and unapologetic grace. Alicia Keys' legacy isn't written in record sales. It's etched in the hearts she healed. Over 2 decades, her voice became the sound of resilience, her piano the pulse of emotion, and her presence a reminder that power can coexist with gentleness. With 15 Grammy Awards, over 90 million records sold, and countless honors, she stands among the greats. But it's her impact that defines her. She opened doors for women in R&B to be more than voices, to be storytellers, producers and architects of their own sound. Artists like Her, Georgia Smith, Snow Allegra, and Andra Day often speak of how Alicia's blend of soul and strength shaped their paths. She made it okay to cry on stage. She made vulnerability powerful again. Her song Empire State of Mind remains an anthem, not just for New York, but for dreamers everywhere who rise despite the odds. And her activism, from Keep a Child Alive to She is the Music, continues to amplify equality, creativity, and compassion. Even in silence, her influence hums through generations. When a young girl somewhere sits at a piano, daring to write her first song, she is, whether she knows it or not, touching the legacy Alicia Keys built. Because Alicia's greatest masterpiece was never her voice. It was the courage to use it. With time, Alicia Keys discovered that peace was not found on a stage. It was built quietly at home. After years of searching for balance between fame and fulfillment, she began to find it in the simplest places. In her music, her family, and her truth. Her marriage to Swizz Beatz became a symbol of growth. Not perfection, but partnership. Together, they built a home filled with art, laughter, and lessons. As a mother of 2 sons, Alicia often says her children remind her of what really matters: presence, not performance. In 2020, she released her memoir, More Myself, A Journey, where she stripped away the myths around success and revealed the woman behind the voice. Vulnerable, spiritual, grateful. She spoke about learning to say no, to slow down, to breathe. Because for Alicia, growth wasn't about achieving more. It was about being more. Her days now often begin at sunrise, sitting at her piano as light spills across the keys. She plays softly, not for an audience, but for peace. Beyond the music, her voice continues to echo through her humanitarian work, empowering women, supporting young creatives, and fighting for equality. Every action, every word, carries the same quiet strength that has defined her since childhood. Alicia once said, "When I stopped trying to be who others expected me to be, I became who I was meant to be." And that, more than any award or hit song, is her greatest victory. In the end, Alicia Keys' story is not just about fame, it's about freedom. Freedom to be honest, to be flawed, to be whole. From a little girl in Hell's Kitchen dreaming beside an old piano, to a global icon who reminded the world that realness is the most radical act of all, her journey has always been about courage. She didn't let the industry define her. She didn't let the spotlight blind her. Instead, she turned it inward, illuminating truth, self-love, and the beauty of imperfection. Alicia once said, "We are all born with light inside of us. We just forget it sometimes." Through her music, She helped millions remember theirs. As the piano fades, we see her silhouette bathed in the soft gold of sunset, her fingers dancing across the keys one last time. The final note lingers, tender, timeless, unbroken. Because Alicia Keys didn't just make music, she made meaning, and for a generation that forgot how to feel, she reminded us that the truest sound in the world is the sound of a heart that's still open. This was the journey of Alicia Keys, the voice that healed a generation.